Welcome to another edition of She Unleashed. She Unleashed, of course, is that program that is targeted to you as a corporate woman. You are in corporate and you're looking to climb up the ladder, or you are looking to pivot into something else. You know, we've had time to reflect during COVID, and most people are really reflecting and pondering that, am I at the right place? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And you also entrepreneur, you are growing your own entity and your concern, but you'd like to make that leap. You are looking for those empowering tools. We're here for you with the sisters across the globe who are here willing to share their pearls of wisdom. They're willing to talk to us about their power. They're willing to talk to us about all those things they've had to go through and journey to get to where they are. Today we have a particularly amazing guest. I have no words to describe who she is to me. Dr. Ameena Ali, you will see the things that she's been involved in. One of the foremost ones that she's responsible for, she's a founder and the lead advocate for an organization called Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. And it is as powerful as it sounds. Dr. Ameena, welcome. And it's such an honor to finally have you here. And I'm so looking forward to today.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so very much for having me. Yes, thank you very much.
Dr. Ameena, you are such a wonder. I'm almost like, it's a surreal moment for me because I've seen you in the most amazing platforms. You are in the UN, you're talking women, you're talking, gender, you're talking equality, and you're such an amazing advocate that gets invited to the most amazing stages. Who is this Dr. Ameena?
Oh my goodness. She is a little girl from Brooklyn who is Gambian by descent. So I come to you with African blood and American roots. So that tells you who I am on the surface. But being Fulani, being Gambian is what makes me grow in this understanding of empowerment for women. We are rooted in a tradition, in a people, in a continent that is so forbearing in the roots of what we do and the reason and the meaning of what we do, that I couldn't be anybody else but a very purposeful person. My grandmother would probably hit me over the knuckles, as she used to do when I misbehaved, if I did anything different. But I am a mom. I am a woman in business. I am retired from medicine after 30 years. I am a military veteran that spent 11 years of her life serving her country. I am now in the United Nations taking up my role for women's rights, gender equality, gender parity, gender equity, human rights, and the salvation of us as a people of the African continent. So I do wear many hats, and all of them fit very well under my crown. But I know who I am and what I am. And today, prayerfully, I'll be able to give you a few gems as to how we can incorporate that into any field that you go into to empower you to be the best that you can be right where you are.
Absolutely. Dr. Ameena, your story is so different. Your narrative is so different. It is not coming to the table saying, I am a victim. It is, I think the power in your message is looking at your roots and talking about how powerful your roots are and how it is important to preserve those roots. What do you think in your background was important in molding this Dr. Ameena and your message?
Well, here's the thing. In the United States, of course, in Africa, we have royalty, and the royalty is descendants long. Each one of us have someone in our family that was of royalty because that's all we had. That's all we were, and that's who we were as a people. So growing up, knowing that I couldn't really speak on the royalty, but being a princess in the royal house of the Fulbe people, there was a huge requirement that I had automatically, just waking up. Society says I was a young Black woman living in Brooklyn. Society says I was a US citizen. Society says that I was a kid that I was an only child that was brought up in a very affluent household and, had all of the bells and whistles. But here's what she didn't have. She didn't have purpose. She was told, yes, you are a princess. I'm a princess until my mother passes away. Then I will become queen and I will set in my place. I will hold an office of making sure that the Fulbe or the Fulani people continue in health and wellness. So my house is under health and wellness. So I have all of these things over me. I have all of these jewels that sit on my stands and crowns and all that, but that doesn't give you purpose. That doesn't give you it gives you status. It gets you into a lot of open doors, but it doesn't give you purpose. So many times I see people using, oh, I'm doctor this and I'm doctor that, or I'm, I do this and I'm here and I'm in the UN and I'm like, and what does that mean? What does that mean? Are you opening doors for the next generation? Are you doing the work so that the people that come after you don't have to struggle the way you did? Are you allowing people to understand who they are, why they are, what they are, and the difference between all of them? Are you educating and empowering the youth so that they know that although they're young, they still have purpose, they still have reason? And I'm handing you that torch. So you got to do what you're supposed to do, because I'm getting ready to get out of here and become an ancestor one day. And I need to carry on this torch to you. Are you doing the work? And if you're not doing the work, if you're sitting there just getting your hair and nails done and just looking the part, then I got to talk about you. I got to talk about who you are and what you are. And I got to tell you, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But if you're doing the work, I hold my hand out and I support you. I bring money and time and effort and energy, and I bring it to your table and I say, here, use it as your will, because you're utilizing the subsidies of life to be the resource for the next generation.
Oh, wow.
So this is what I bring to the table, and this is what I offer. So I can't be anything else but successful in this life. I just want to see how it manifests.
Amazing. Tell me, how difficult is it to be this person that's on purpose? Because sometimes people do not get your message, and sometimes you go through doors where the doors have been closed and they have been purposefully closed for generations, and now you come and say you gotta open this door. How does it feel to be a person who is really operating from purpose?
Yeah. It's liberating. That's the best word. That's the only word I've ever come up with. It's liberating. It allows you to know that even this little girl who didn't know about the Gambia, and as far as stepping on the soil until she was grown, until she understood, who lived here in New York all of her life, who traveled around the world through the military, traveled around the world when I was coming of age and doing all the royal stuff, knowing who I was never a conversation. They only told me what I was. I was this princess. I was given this. I was born of this. I was duty to do this. But they never told me who I was. And this is how we break it down. This is some of the gems that I've learned. I'm going to break down who you are, what you are, and why you are. And I'm going to break this down pretty simply. It's not going to take long, but I do need to give that so that you better understand how the story unfolds. The what you are. Okay, let's start with that. The what you are is the princess, the Black woman from Brooklyn, the woman that migrated maybe from South Africa that came to the United States, or the journalist that is going to be next in line to get a Pulitzer Prize. That's the what you are. That's what society kind of says is your place. Now, when they put you in that place, they need to either educate you or inform you as to how to do it. So this is where all of the traditions and the cultures and the religious this and the adaptations to that. That's when it all comes in. You write a passage, all of that. Okay, so that instructs you on how to do it. But it still doesn't give you purpose. It doesn't give you what you're required to do. It's just telling you how to do it. So the who comes in when you figure out what you're good at, what you're solid in, and what you can teach. Now, I was told that I have to be of royalty. But what does that mean? Does that teach me how to put a crown on? Does that teach me how to put a little badge on and walk down the street and everyone's bowing at you? And okay, if I was a boy, I guess they would have done the same thing. If I was the third child, they would have done the same. You know what I mean? It doesn't really give you what you're supposed to do. So when I was coming up, I was always asking questions. Well, what's a lawyer? What's a doctor? What's the difference? What's an educator? What's a teacher? What's the difference? What does it mean to be religious? What does it mean to be spiritual? And what's the difference? So I was always asking those comparatives. And I was always asking because I wanted to know why people use these different terms. Why do they feel as though these terms are relatable as well as respectful? What is the dignity in it? Why do we need? And I was always asking, always, always, always. So the who I was always, oh, she's an inquisitive child. My grandmother used to always say, she's such an inquisitive child. And I remember her always saying that. And I had to ask, what does that mean? What does inquisitive mean? Well, you're always asking questions. Okay, well, you always say the dumb question is the question you don't ask. So I'm going to keep asking questions until I get to the answer that fits me. So with all of that coming up, by the time I got to be an adult, and I didn't even do that well, I was still asking myself, okay, so who are you, Ameena? They told you what you're supposed to do. They told you when your mother dies that this is what you're going to do and where you're going to go, and always talking morbidly. You know, once your mother's gone, this is what your role. Okay, so what am I supposed to do in the meantime? To sit there and twiddle my thumbs? You know, what am I supposed to do? So the understanding of what it is that we are doing as a people has to be what we're good at. And this is organic. This is before you get to college. This is before you get to, you know, high school and you figure out your trade. That's later on. What are you good at? Do you like to get in front of the camera? Are you very photogenic? You see, I don't wear makeup, so I'm not the one that really needs to get in front of the camera. I could not possibly get my face to look as beautiful as yours. Absolutely not. So I knew I was good at one thing. So I started in radio. I figured you didn't have to see anybody in radio. So all the interviews I did was always in radio where you didn't have to be seen. And then one day someone said, can you do a on-air interview? And I said, well, what does that mean? Well, you have to be on air in front of a camera. In front of a what? Took me out of my comfort zone. So part of what you're needing to do is take yourself out of your comfort zone, learn something new and see how you fit in that. If nothing else, you can say, no, I didn't like it, don't want it, nah. People were telling me, Ameena, put on some makeup. Put some makeup on your face and highlight your features and everything. I put it on and I look like a clown. I remember doing with the red cheeks and the bright red lipstick, and I looked like I needed to be in a circus somewhere. And I remember my girlfriends clowning me, and they were joking with me. They said, yeah, makeup is not for you. So I just stopped wearing it. I wear a little shea butter on my lips, and I put some olive oil on my face, and that's it. I drink a ton of water a day. So I'm figuring maybe my skin complexion will do something. But I had to learn that makeup wasn't for me. And I use that as a small analogy to show you that whatever it is that you're doing, you have to micromanage it until you're in a space where the fit and the look is you. Now, what does that look like? Now, I'm known for my turban, you know, as my piece. Everyone always sees me. Oh, you mean the woman with the wrap? Yes, the woman with the wrap. Okay. But I got a lot of hair underneath here. And most people are asking me, what does it look like? That's not your business. Look at this. Listen to this. You're fine. And I had to say that because a lot of people were trying to take me out of my comfort zone again for their comfort. I need to see your hair. I need to see how long it is. I need to see how bold it is. I'm African. It's a lot of hair. You know, I can't say it any other way. It's long, it's big, it's a lot, and it's mine, and it's natural. But to know that is to know you're missing the point of what I'm saying for the sake of what you want to see in me. So that's the second point. Show people who you are, not what makes them comfortable with you. Show them who you are. If you like to wear your head wraps like this, if you like to wear bracelets, if you like to wear t-shirts, if that's your thing, if you like to wear makeup, if that's your thing, show them who you are. Those who will respect it will gravitate towards you. So being authentic is point number 2. And then the last point, why you are, the why will be simple. Once you figure out your comfort, you figure out the way you're going to present it, the way you are comfortable, the why will come forward. So whether that's in journalism, in medicine, in law, in education, whatever, it will be evident. If you love to talk, journalism is for you. If you love to educate and give to communities, education will be for you. If you love to be about justice and making sure that everybody is equal, human rights, gender rights, civil rights, law will be for you. So in this second act that I call my second act now that I'm retired, I want to bring that justice, that equality to the equation. I bring that to the table when I sit down. That I don't speak just on the medicine, I speak with access to that medicine. That is the civil rest that I want to give society. I want to give women, and I want to offer that to them in a way in which that makes it a household word and makes them comfortable receiving it. So I hope that helps in the beginning of this talk, and I hope that helps them to open up. But I welcome your questions in developing this concept.
Absolutely amazing. Now tell me, out of all these choices, it could have been easy to be a Dr. Amina that is just riding on this wave of being queen and,
Yeah.
doing all the traditional aspects of queendom. Now tell me, what inspired Dr. Amina to say, I will focus on women and human rights?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I've only been a woman, so I've only known being a woman in this life anyway,
Mm,
and I've only known um, the opening of what it is that women are.
mm,
So that means from being a young lady and being called a girl to a young woman to an adult woman to now bridging into elderdom. I'm 50 something. I'm just going to put that out there. So
wow.
knowing that in a few
Wow.
years, I will 70, 80, prayerfully, I'll make it to 90 and 100. So once I become an elder, what does that mean in my life now? Because that's supposed to be taking all of the knowledge, education, and information, turning it into wisdom. What does that look like? I'm excited about that part because that will speak to the truth. And that will speak to what it is that I am as a true woman. That'll be the finality of me. But in
Mm,
the meantime, I have to be that living example of what women can do, can be, and can aspire to be in
mhm,
real time. We're so many times we say, oh, wait till you're an adult or wait till you get a little older, you'll understand. No, I don't want to wait. I'm impatient. No, no. I'm an only child. I didn't have sisters and brothers to feed off of to say, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? I had to make mistakes and fall down a lot because I didn't have someone to say, no, you don't need to do that. Or maybe you shouldn't do that. Or this didn't work for me. I didn't have that. So what I had was, okay, I skinned my knee, so maybe I shouldn't run on that slippery floor. I had, oh, I burned my finger. Maybe I shouldn't touch that hot stove. I had to do all of these things by accident, on purpose, fail, fall down. So when you do that, you can do it gracefully though. Because when you fall down and you realize you fell down, get up. If you fall down and you realize you fell down and you hurt yourself, tend to your wounds.
mm,
Don't just get back up bleeding and then try to go on. No, because you'll bleed to death. You'll stay in that wound. You will never close it and heal it. That scab will never form because you didn't tend to it. Tend to it in this analogy means figure out where you went wrong, fix that, then move on in what you're doing. If you know that you're not good at public speaking, but you want to be the president, you gotta fix that. You can't run for office and not be good at public speaking. You have to fix that. So that may be the wound that you need to fix. But going along and realizing what you're not good at and focusing on fixing that helps the good things look better. So I guess the answer to that question is being a woman is power in and of itself. We are our own superpower. So knowing that being a woman, carrying life through you, being able to be an instrument of power to another woman organically without even having to say, I'm going to be your mentor and I'm going to teach you how to be. No, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is just show up. All you have to do is just walk in a room and people are going to say, who are you? I'm Dr. Ameena Ali. Okay, what do you do? I'm the founder of the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights. That sounds interesting. They're going to ask you more questions. They're going to ask you, but people don't ask you questions unless they're interested. So if they're still asking you questions and they're still asking about you, they're still interested in you. So show up. Show up. And as a woman, that's what we do. We show up with the makeup. We show up with the wrap. We show up with the crown. We show up in t-shirts. We show up, whatever. We show up. And we do that well when we show up. And when we show up authentically, we do it organically and people see who you are. That is who's going to gravitate to what you are and then become that mentor in real time. You don't have to say you're a leader. All you have to do is show up and the leadership will be evident. And I think a lot of times we as women, we need to just show up. Just start doing interviews like this, getting to know each other, getting to vibe who each other is, and then promote each other. That's how we show up. And that's what makes the organicness very real. And I think other women need to see that and see that it's okay.
And I think that was the interest in actually looking at Dr. Amina. And What I loved about you is you are not trying to be anyone else, but you show up in who you are. Where is this confidence coming from, Dr. Ameena? Because you'll hear in most reports and in most studies that women are shy, women do not want to speak up, and yet you came as this woman who was ready to speak and be who she is. I hear the story about the background and everything else, but were you always this child who had this confidence in her?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Knowing that I had a role to play and I didn't know what the heck they were talking about scared the mess out of me. For someone to tell you that, for example, if someone was to tell you at 5 years old, you're going to be a fabulous journalist that's all around the world, that's interviewing people, and you're going to be fabulous in how you look and how you set, and everything about you is just going to be immaculate, you're going to be afraid. The first thing is because you don't know how to do it right now. Right this second, you don't know how to manifest that. And you're afraid you're going to fail. The second thing is you don't even know what that's going to look like to even begin to manifest it. And then the third thing is you don't even understand what that means. Why are you called? So those three things build fear in you. Fear, real fear. Like, oh my God, if I fail this, is the family going to fall apart? Like, if I fail this, and am I going to be a failure in life? Are they going to kick me out of the king? You know, like what is it? What does that mean? So it's a lot of fear. So yes, I was intimidated. I was shy. I was extroverted. Probably when I reached my 30s is when I really started to come out because I got tired of being sick and tired of being afraid. So I would say 85% of that is when you're tired of being in the background and you know that you can do it in the front ground is when you will come up. When you're tired of fueling someone else's dreams, when you work for corporate America, you're fueling someone else's dream. You are paying someone else's boat payment because the work that you do is going to get somebody money that's going in their pocket, not in yours. They're paying you a wage. They're not paying you your worth. So you are always fueling someone else's dream. So if you're not doing what you are called to do, you will always be wasting time. I will say that again. If you are not doing what you are called to do, you will always be wasting time. When you get tired of wasting time and not getting the due diligence that you deserve, that's when you'll wake up. Most of the time, you'll wake up angry. I'm so tired of working for this company. I'm so tired of being this person that is never, I can't get a raise. I can't get a promotion. I'm tired. I'm sick. I'm done. And you'll either leave, you'll get frustrated, or you'll just be angry while you're there. And it always comes through anger because anger is energy of fuel. Anger is the gasoline of your promotion. You don't have to get promoted in your job, but promote yourself. Promote yourself. Let them know who you are in that business. Don't just come there, oh, I'm just going to do my job and go home. No, let them know you deserve that corner office up there in the executive suite. Let them know you deserve that name on your door and not just a name tag on your chest. No, anybody can read a name tag, but present yourself and say, that's my door. I used to do that in corporate America. I used to go up to the highest level. And before I go into their office, I used to put my hand on their door and I used to say, this office is mine one day. And it didn't mean the office of that person. It meant the executive office of decision makers to make sure that people are organized right in the business. That's what that meant. And I would just put my right hand on the door and I would say, this office is mine one day. And I would do that every time I went into an office. Why? Because it was one step up from where I was. And that confidence was a silent confidence because if I put my hand and I made that affirmation and I said it with intention, it became real. Now, did it open doors for me at that level? Yes, because now I got that job, I got that promotion, I got that whatever, and it was a ladder and it kept rising me into the next level. Then when I decided I got tired of paying someone else's boat payment, I said, I deserve a boat of my own, is when I went into business myself. Yes, I failed the first 5 years. Yes. I didn't make a dime the first 5 years. I only closed maybe 6 contracts in 5 years. That's one a year. And then when I decided, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. The Lord is not blessing this forward. I can't do it. And I cried and I was on that rug and I banged my head and I made sure that I said that last prayer because that was the prayer to end this. I was closing it out. And I heard the Lord say, one more time. That's it. It was just as clear as I'm talking to you, just as clear as it was audible. I heard one more time. That means do it one more time. So I did. I answered a meeting. I did a pretense. I did another report or whatever it is I was called to do, which was what I was in line to do when I decided to quit. And I did it. And I got the contract. And that contract netted me about $10,000 to be able to open my first office. That was the money I used to open my first office. Mm-hmm. Then when I got in there, someone saw me and said, "What do you do here?" I said, "Well, I work with women that are internally displaced persons, refugees, asylum seekers." And "Oh, really? I have a family member that works with female genital mutilation. Do you work with that?" I said, "Yes." Really, I didn't. But I said, "Yes." And when I said yes, he said, "Wow." He said, "Well, I'd like to work with you and help you to work with other women that are dealing with female genital mutilation." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay." We signed a contract. 2 weeks later, I got a check for $5,000 to start the project in New York right here to help the women right here in New York.
Wow. Wow.
One more time.
Wow.
So it's that tired of being sick and tired. I'm at the end. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I can't afford it. I got 4 children and 1 possible, which means I thought I was having another baby because somebody was saying that they couldn't take care of the baby. And I thought I was going to have to adopt another daughter. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "I can't do it, Lord. You got all these mouths to feed and I can't do it." He said, "One more time. One more. Mm-hmm. One more." He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the call. Amen. And today I'm sitting here now in purpose because I did it one more time. So it's that one more time, brothers and sisters.
But isn't just that the amazing part? Because we spoke about it before coming on board, that because you are called, it doesn't mean that the journey becomes smooth. There is all of that. There's the rejection in the journey, and you are on purpose at that time. But there's a working in you that is happening throughout that process. Tell us about the difficulty. How do we journey through the difficulty? Because I think what scares a lot of women from stepping out of corporate is exactly that fear, that the first year, the second year. And I almost say that I think, particularly in the Black communities, because what we saw as small enterprises, we saw just the struggle, and there were very few successes that were coming on board. So what we have as an imprint is how this thing will fail, and then the statistics are there for you as well that keep on saying small micro enterprises fail in their second year. We just get lambasted by all this messaging, not knowing that through the process, though, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, ma'am.
What can you tell a woman that is fearful of that journey of failure and success, and yet the jewels that are carried in them, because you wouldn't have been the person that you are had you not gone through that? And your story would not have been this succinct had you not gone through your own trials and tribulations. It just made you the better version of you.
Yes. Yes. To answer that question succinctly is your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. Your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. And this means if you're hanging around broke people, you'll stay broke. And that's broke meaning mentally, physically, financially, spiritually. If you stay around broke people, you will always be broke. Mm-hmm. Always. Mm-hmm. And this means that you need to look at your circle. Who are the people in your circle? Are everybody in your circle struggling like you? That's not your people. That's not your tribe. Mm-hmm. That's not the people you're supposed to be around. My grandmother used to always use this analogy, and I never understood it until I was in my 40s. Literally, I didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. She said, if you want to find a book, go to the library. Oh, okay, Nana. All right. All right. You want to, okay. What she was meaning was, if you want to find value, go to where the value is. That's what that meant. Mm-hmm. So if you are looking to be an entrepreneur, a micro, even the micro business, the microfinance of the cataclysm of what you do. And what that means is even in the smallest details of what you do, go around people that are already successful in it. I can't stress that enough. Mm-hmm. I read that in How to Think and Grow Rich. It's a book called How to Think and Grow Rich. And it says that be around people who are masters at the thing you wish to learn. This means they've already done the homework. They've already tripped and fell. They've already failed. They've already done all of the necessary groundwork. And now they can say, I can teach this. Be around those people. Why? Because every time they open their mouth, they're going to give you a nugget of something that you didn't already know that's going to propel you into a place that you need to grow. This is the key. Every time they open their mouth. Why? Because they can only speak from that experience. If they knew it took them 20 years to build that house, they're going to tell you why each nail was important. And they're going to help you to understand the purpose and the importance of a well-placed nail in that house, how it's keeping that structure up. They're also going to tell you how a good paint is very good to coat the walls and how many coats you need. Why? Because it took them that long to figure that out. So they're going to teach you how to build a well-organized, well-maintained, well-structured house. So be with those people. Sit with those people who have gray hair and you think, oh, it's too old to realize what they're talking about. No, because they got to that age doing the work. They didn't get those gray hairs just by sitting there just watching the world go by. They did it by doing the work. That's why women tell their children, you're giving me gray hairs. Why? You're giving me wisdom. You're giving me knowledge as to what it is I need to do for women. And that was my biggest piece, raising girls. I'm a woman raising girls. So I had to teach by example or organically. If I tell them that they need to be their authentic self, I couldn't be walking around here plastic, with fake boobs and fake this and fake mindset and fake titles and all of that. I couldn't do that. If I tell you to be organic, you have to be organic. You have to be yourself everywhere you go. So what that meant was me being in a space of teaching, I had to learn. So I couldn't be in this space where I was like, oh, I'm Dr. Ameena Ali. Oh, I'm a princess and I'm, I'm in a room of it. No, I had to be the dumbest person in the room because I need to be around people who are smarter than me. And I had to stay in a room of people that were smarter than me. And they always say, oh, princess, come on in. No, I'm not princess today. I'm Ameena. Talk to me. Don't talk to the title. Don't try to impress the title. I'm not impressed, so you shouldn't be. It's not something that you, and the reason why I say that is not to deflate that. It's to say that that's not who's in the room. Ameena is in the room. The woman that wants to learn, that wants to understand, that wants to get into, that's who you're talking to. All that other stuff will reap the benefits of who Ameena is. If you wear a crown and it's crooked, straighten it up. But to know why you wear that crown means the person has to show up. So in knowing that, you have to be the dumbest person in the room. And I don't mean that negatively, but you have to be the person that is always the consummate student in the room. You're around wisdom all the time. I can't tell you how important it is for me to be around elders, people that are over 80, over 90, in their hundreds, centenarians that can sit back and say, girl, look, I was making mistakes before you even born. And when they start a sentence like that, that's like, I'm like this the whole time. I'm sitting there listening to anything, even if it's wrong, I'm listening to it because they're going to tell me why it's wrong. And I want to know that because when I want to know that younger than they were, so I can pass it on to those younger than me at a younger age so that they can get that wisdom and grow up with that. So to fully answer your question, it came over time. It came over a substantial way of doing things, and it came with purpose. So being in a room full of people that are smarter than me is intentional. Being in that library and looking for that book, as my grandmother would always say, is intentional. So being around people who are smarter than me, who are more knowledgeable, who has done it longer, who has been in this in a greater aptitude is where you need to be. So don't hang around people in your neighborhood just because they're comfortable. You need to go in the state capitol and hang around senators and governors and mayors if you want to be in a political field. Hang around them. You don't have to do anything. Just hang around them. Just see how they move in society. See their assistants and what the assistants do. And then see if you can do that role. And if you could do the assistant's role to that person, you can do their role. Because if you know the assistant is always the person that is doing the work. It's the person that has the title on the door just gets the credit. But it's the assistant that does all the work. So hang around them and see how that works for you.
One of the things that we spoke about before coming aboard was also the accountability that rests on women as well. And I think you've been talking about it the whole interview where you talk about showing up and Let's talk a little bit about this accountability, because once you earn that seat, you better lead.
Say that again.
Once you earn that seat, you better lead or you move out for someone else.
Get out. Get out. Yes, ma'am.
How
Damn.
important is accountability for the era that we're in, Dr. Ameena, where you're seeing every country, every table is talking about gender parity, just for the progression of the message, because we don't need bystanders right now.
Right.
How
We do.
important is accountability as a woman when you show up and you share your message in your own way?
Um, Oprah Winfrey, she is a big mogul here. You are who she was years ago,
Mm,
and you are bringing this table. And the way I see this is Oprah Winfrey wasn't just a journalist. She
mhm,
brought people to the table to speak
mhm,
about things that are necessary.
mhm,
And she didn't even realize she was doing it. And
mhm,
that's what you're doing here. So
mhm,
when I speak of accountability, and you remember I talked about knowing what you're good at and knowing why you're good at that and what your mission is,
mhm,
you need to do what you are called to do every single day. So that means if you're not bringing someone on the message here like you're doing here, you're writing a letter to someone asking them, what do they do?
mhm,
I'd like to pair you with such and such and such, and we do a collaborative Zoom call and we talk about gender rights and human rights. And we
mhm,
put you on a call together and we have a panel discussion. And you're
mhm,
doing that every single solitary day. Why? Because it's your accountability, your job. You know how so many people say, you may not agree with what I do, but I was doing my job. Well, what's your
mhm,
job?
mhm,
What is your job?
mhm,
What is the job that you were called to do? And what is the job that you're actually doing? And is it the same?
mhm,
Are you bringing people to the table every single day to do the things that they are called to do? Are you exposing them for what
mhm,
it is that they're doing and why they're doing it and making successes in society? Or
mhm,
are you sitting there, oh, I am Dr. Ameena Ali and I am the founder of, and I'm just sitting on my laurels and I'm just letting you know who I am? No, no. I got dirt underneath my fingers every day. Why? Because I clean the floors as well as do these interviews. I
mhm,
sit down with interns who are sitting there crying because they can't pay their rent and they're trying to figure out how they're going to continue through this internship. And I'm finding ways for them to pay their rent. I'm sitting with we had one that was pregnant and her husband was beating on her. So now I became mommy and I was her mother through this. And we birthed her as she birthed her baby. Now her and her baby is in a safe place in Georgia, the state of Georgia in the United States. And
mhm,
she's with a foster family who's helping her get back on her feet.
mhm,
These are things that I'm doing and I'm showing up, but that doesn't mean that I'm sitting here, oh, I'm Princess Ameena and I'm the founder of the Federation of it. No, 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 I'm picking up garbage and I'm going outside and sweeping in front of the building and I'm doing all of the things that you're supposed to because you need to show up in the capacity that is necessary, not in the thing that makes you gloat and shine.
mhm,
This thing requires you to be dirty at times.
mhm,
This thing is going to require you to be royal and regal at times.
mhm,
This thing is going to make you speak truth at times. And this thing is going to make you say, you full of, you know what, at times.
mhm,
Because it's going to make you be who you need to be at the time you need to be it. Not what
mhm,
you want to pose yourself as
mhm,
this royal. No, no. I change diapers. I wipe messy noses. I clean floors that you can't. I can't even tell you how many times I was in here because I don't wear shoes in the office, so you got to put your shoes at the door. I
mhm,
can't tell you how many times people come in and they see my little sign at the door and they say, "Take your shoes off." In an office, absolutely. Why? Because we have children that come in here and they play on the floor.
mhm,
Wow, I never thought of it that way. That's exactly right. I have parents that bring their children in here, and what do you put your children on the floor? Why should children have to play on the floor with your dirty shoes off? Take your shoes off at the door. So
mhm,
some people are like, "Well, I don't want to take my shoes off." Okay, so here's some booties, and I put the shoe covers over their shoes.
uh-huh, uh-huh,
So we improvise. You see what I mean? But I'm
mhm,
doing it because of the children. I'm
mhm,
not doing it to try to keep my hardwood floors looking nice. That's a plus.
mhm,
But I'm doing it because the children sit on the floor and they play. Sometimes they'll drop their Cheerios and they have to pick, and you know what they do? They pick it up and put it right back in their mouth. They don't think
mhm,
of anything. So what do we have to do? We have to keep our floors clean. So at the end of the day, I'm mopping the floors so that when tomorrow morning, when they come in, the floors will be clean. Do I have a janitor that does it? Absolutely. But I want to make sure it's done and done the right way. So when the janitor comes, he comes behind me and it's already clean. So who loses?
Absolutely.
You see what I mean? So you have to be the person you need to be at that time rather than the person you want to shine yourself to be in society. So that's my full answer.
Dr. Ameena, you sit in all these platforms, in all these, where critical discussions are taking place. You sit in the UN, you sit in different forums where we're talking about the progression of women. Is the narrative changing from when you started, or what is symbolic about maybe this era that we're in?
Great question. The symbolism is the narrative. The narrative. What are we actually saying? The narrative is what you speak into existence. What are we saying? What do we say? The narrative is actually a verb. It's an action. It's supposed to be an action word. It's supposed to be. But the narrative seems to be, I need to say the right things at the right time, and I need to have all these flowery words, and I need to sound important, and I need to use words that are bigger than me, and I need to make sure that people know that I use these words. For what? What are you saying? Are you saying, oh, we need to have gender equity for women to make sure the intersectionality of them meets the parity? And I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? That's too, look, I need to make sure that every woman that has a voice is sitting at that table. That's what that means. Every woman that has a voice, hear what I said. Every woman that has a voice needs to be sitting at that table. Whether it's a weak voice, a muted voice, a shaken voice, an oppressed voice, an abused voice, it don't make a difference. It does not make a difference. You deserve a seat at that table, and I'm going to scoot aside so that you can sit down. Why? Because it's just that important to me. Hey, sometimes I've gotten up out of my seat and allowed someone to sit in my seat. Why? Because it's just that important for you to have a seat at the table. And that's what I see now. The narrative is inclusion. The narrative is inclusion. The narrative is inclusion. And inclusion doesn't mean a part of. Let me explain. When you say I'm a part of something, that means you're added on to it. That means that there is a separate and apart foundation, and you're just added to it. Okay? Included means you were made into the foundation of it. So that means in the planning, in the logistics, in the think tank, in the talking of it, in the itinerary of the overview and all of that, you had a seat at the table. That is what I want for every woman. Don't be a part of something. That means you added on. You know, they used to do that to Black people here in the United States all the time. Oh, well, we're going to bring one Black person into the conversation so that we look like we are diverse. No. What you did is just add one Black person to the conversation. But then you didn't give them power. You just had them as a token. They're just sitting there. And they're looking pretty. And they're looking around. And there's just, and smiling. Why? Because they're just that one Black person in the room. But when you allow them to come into the conversation, when you say, Dr. Ameena, what do you think? That is inclusion. That is what I want for every human, woman, being, entity in this world, to have a voice in what is going forward, what is being said, and how it is being planned intentionally. So that's what I fight for. And the narrative is inclusion. You are a part systematically, organically, humanistically. So you need to have your voice being heard intentionally. So that's who I am, and that's why I am.
Is it happening, Dr. Ameena? What is this war? What is this fight going to be like? Because it looks like there's a painting of the picture and exactly the buzzwords. Inclusion. I mean, if you look at most of the values that you'll see in most corporates, it's going to be about inclusion. But when you get to that corporate, it does not feel like inclusion. Where are we going to have to take this fight to get it to be authentic and real?
We have to start complimenting and stop competing. I'll say that again. We have to start complimenting and stop competing. I am not your enemy, and I am not somebody you need to compete with. You need to complement what I'm doing. How does that work? You doing this right now complements what I'm doing. I'm going to be able to take a link that is going to be this recording, and I'm going to be able to send that to the next college. When they have a symposium that they want to speak on that I can't be a part of, I'm going to send this link to them, and I'm going to say, look at this. I can't be a part of your event in person because of scheduling or whatever have you. But I want you to watch this, and I want you to give your full attention to this because I think it matters in what I would have said anyway at your event. So this is what I'm going to do. So what does that mean? That means I trust that your editing is going to be pristine, even if you just leave it the way it is. But I trust that your editing is going to be pristine. I trust that you are going to be okay with me sending it to a college or a university or putting it out there on the social media networks. And I'm going to expose who and what you are. What does that do? That gets the message out as to what I'm saying, and it allows people to know who my circle is. So now what you're doing is now being looked at. So now they're saying, who is this Madam Diana? Who is she? Wow, she did an interview with Dr. Ameena, and Dr. Ameena accepted this interview. Wow, she must be a powerful person. So now you're being put on the radar. If you weren't already on the radar, you're now being put on the radar. That's how we complement each other. This is how we systematically bring each other up. You know what that's saying? Level up. Level up means come up to where you need to be, and then bring everybody in accordance with it. That's how you level up. You can't sit on a chair with only 2 legs. You have to have 4 to balance. That the third and fourth leg is who you bring with you. And you have to, and again, your network is your net worth. So you have to bring people that you know can rise to the challenge and be with you in this equality. So that means anybody in your circle has to bring value to your worth. I don't accept all speaking engagements. Be clear. I don't accept all speaking. And when I do my research, it is either a woman that is on the rise, that has risen, or someone that needs that push because what she's doing is so powerful. It is so powerful that I would be wrong to not be in that seat to talk to her. So this is why I accept this. If you're a woman, you automatically get my attention. If you're a woman of the continent, you already got my focus. And if you're a woman of the continent that is doing work for the people of the continent, I'm there, period. So this is how you get into that door, because we are complementing each other, because I'm a woman of the continent doing work in the continent. So you see how that works? So we have to complement each other. Stop competing. I don't wear makeup. And I always use that tangent because you look so beautiful with your makeup on, and I'm just like so jealous. But I don't wear makeup. But here's what I'm doing. The makeup, as you know, accents already what you have. So in order for you to be beautiful in makeup, you had to have a beautiful face in the first place. I really believe that. It's like having paint on a wall. You had to have a wall that had paint. So if it wasn't for your beauty already, the makeup wouldn't do you any justice. So in knowing that, if I come on here and I speak well and I give authentic information, I complement that beauty that's already there. I'm already giving value to the worth that you already possess. So that's the compliment. That's the way we mesh together. Now, the next time we meet, we're going to talk about something else. So when someone comes back on your radio, on your show, they're going to see that you are doing not only this with Dr. Ameena, but you're doing this. So it's going to be a different look, a different sound, a different topic. But what you're going to see is that Dr. Ameena is still doing interviews with her. And this is where everyone binds up. Oh, now that Dr. Ameena is doing interviews with her all the time, maybe I want to do an interview with her. So Madam Diana, can I do it? And you're going to get letters and emails and text messages and all that. Can I do an interview like you did with Dr. Ameena? Absolutely. What do you want to talk about? And then you're going to blend them into the show. So the next time you have a show about this topic, you're going to call them. So now you have added value to their work. Now they feel important because Madam Diana is making us do this thing. And we're going to, oh my God, I'm going to be on the show. And they're going to tell their friends and they're going to put it on Facebook and they're going to do all this. And now you have added value to their work. So now they're going to promote you on their social media. You see how each of us complement each other. No one is competing in this. No one has to have the light and always, I got to be in the light. Oh, I got to step up front and I'm pushing you back so that I can be up front. And no, nobody's doing that. Nobody is doing that. everybody is taking the light and they're shining it equally. So it's a big light that makes everyone be seen. That is how you complement, because no one is a threat to you. No one. Even the way I stand, I still have some things that you do better. So I'm going to come on board and I'm going to learn what those things are so that I can learn from you. You learn from me, and together we do this and we complement each other. So we have to stop competing and start complementing.
And I think that is the essence of today's message, Dr. Ameena, that we cannot say we are going out there fighting this war of gender parity when our house is not in order. It's about that. It's about shining the light on the sisters and knowing that each one is unique in who they are and they bring a different, spice into this pot. But everyone is needed in this pot. I really appreciated my time with you, and I'm so grateful because I know how busy you are right now, and with all the UN meetings that are coming next month and so on. I'm really truly grateful, and I know you said it without a doubt. You said I'll be there, and I'm grateful for all of that. So, Dr. Ameena, if they want to find you, where do they find you?
I am here. I am available here in New York physically. I'm right down the street from the United Nations. So if you are ever in town and you come to New York, I can meet you. I can meet with you. I'm also, the United Nations is that way. The African Union is that way. So I'm smack in the middle of both conglomerates. So I work with them specifically. So I am here in the US. I also travel to the continent. Once they lift all the bans, I guess I'll be there even more. So that's in physical. In virtual, I'm available on LinkedIn at Ameena Ali, and it's LinkedIn /in/Ameena Ali, AMEENAALI. So it's EENA, not IN, because so many people spell it AMINA, but it's AMEENAALI. So that's on LinkedIn. If you're on Instagram, it is I am Ameena Ali. So it's the letter I, AM, Ameena Ali on Instagram. And I can be made available by conference. My email address is askdrali, ASKDRALI@gmail.com. And of course, I'm on WhatsApp and I'm on Telegram and Social Africa and anything. Just put in Ameena Ali, you'll find me.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for the authenticity for today and really the message. I think it will take a bit of editing to go through all of the pearls of wisdom that came out of today and really just giving off yourself, the deep core of who you are. We appreciate it. And I think for any woman who is looking at, the type of leadership, the authenticity, how to show up in your power, you are that person for me. At least I've been following your work. I've been following all the things, the places you speak at. And it is with this, you take away the fluff and you talk about it in a hardcore manner. Thank you so much for your time. And I really look forward to meeting you personally in the US once the ban is lifted up. So thank you so much. And you must have a beautiful day further. Hey?
Too. Okay, thank you so much, and congratulations on another successful show. You are doing the work. Thank you, my queen, and thank you so very much for all that you do. I have so many people that are going to be watching this and seeing this, and I thank you for making sure that you are the vessel to make sure that this happens. So thank you so very much, queen. Thank you. Be well.
Wonderful. There you have it to our listeners. You have it. It's a mouthful. It actually needs real listening because the pearls of wisdom are just there. I think Dr. Ameena was generous enough to take her through her youth, through all the difficult moments as well. It was not always this glossy and beautiful and powerful, but she has done the work. And the call is really for everyone to go through the gory parts of it as well and to do the work. Well, there you have it. And we look forward to seeing you in another edition. Cheers.